Hello and welcome to Questioning Christmas, the 4-week mini-series where we spend a little bit of time looking into questions that some of our young people have here at Killiman.
One thing I've been wondering recently, was Jesus really born in December?
Well, thank you very much for that question, Robbie. Was Jesus really born on the 25th of December? I think that's an important question we all need to consider because, let's be honest, it's just became part of our culture that Christmas is on the 25th. And we never really think that much about it. Over the last week, Alan and myself started discussing it, and actually I realised I need to go and investigate a little bit further because my first thoughts, actually Alan told me, were quite wrong. So I had to work on that a little bit. We all have those moments, but I assumed it would be potentially linked into pagan tradition. So there's a pagan holiday, change it to be Jesus' birthday, and then suddenly they might be a little bit easier to come along and start becoming Christian. But that turned out to be completely wrong. And as I started investigating a little bit into it, I saw that it all stems from early Christian writing. The early Christian church cared more about Jesus' death and dating that than really speaking much about Jesus' birth. So the early church didn't really speak of when he was actually born. They were more cared about the time where he died and rose again. So really, it wasn't focused on till about 200 AD. So you got a bunch of people 200 years after Jesus deciding, well, when was Jesus born? And a couple of thoughts come out. The first one being that he was born in the middle of May, the polar opposite of what we think. But the second one is a little bit bigger and a little bit more important. It survived a little bit longer till now. Essentially, they tie it into what was called the Feast of Annunciation. You may wonder, that might be quite a big word. Essentially, it was a big feast to celebrate the day that Gabriel told Mary that she was pregnant. And 9 months after that date would be the day that Jesus was born. So the date that the Feast of Annunciation was March 25th, exactly 9 months before December the 25th, meaning that the early church around 200 AD decided the 25th of December must be the day that Jesus was born. Now, there's maybe a couple other people that had different opinions, but that's the one that stuck the longest. In short, we don't know exactly the day that Jesus was born, but that's not what matters the most. What matters the most that we celebrate together Jesus' birth, and we choose to do that on the date that was decided on 200 AD, or 200 years after Jesus. But still we celebrate it, and that's what matters most. Thank you very much for that question, Robbie. Hopefully that unpacked it a little bit for you. A bit more academic maybe than the other ones, but it's still a good question and something we need to think over a little bit ourselves.